Hi there, and welcome back to this time of Table Talk. It's so good to see you again. And here we are. We're going to finish up our little mini series on how to develop a personal or a family devotional life. You know what I really love? I love hardware store flyers. When the paper comes, I rarely care too terribly much about the articles and that sort of thing. I go straight for the hardware store flyers because I kind of like tools. Tools make you feel powerful, they make you feel handy, they make you feel productive. Sometimes just holding a tool in a convincing pose is almost as good as just doing the job itself. So I take the flyers and I browse the tools and I imagine all the projects I could do if only I had this tool or that tool. And in fact, a few years ago, I bought a mostly finished house. And I knew I wasn't super handy, so I had to hire some help for some of the hard stuff. But here was one of my motivating factors in doing this was I wanted to spend some time with my dad, and he's kind of handier than I am. So I thought that was a good way to kind of make that connection. I wanted to learn a few new skills, wanted to save some money, but one of the most exciting parts was in doing a big project like this, I thought this is a really great excuse to buy some new tools. The last thing that we want to talk about here on this Table Talk time is helps. The helps that we need in starting a personal or a family devotional time. We've talked about habit and that great devotional lives are a factor of persisting and building solid habits. We've talked about heart and how we need to pray that God would cultivate our desires when we get stuck in kind of like a motivational rut. And today we'll talk about tools or the helps that support a great devotional life. Hopefully, this will be kind of your hardware store flyer edition of Table Talk. So there's three things in tools I want to talk about. I want to talk about methods, I want to talk about resources, and I want to talk a little bit about community. So methods are kind of skills. You might be surprised that there are actually a variety of ways that you can study the Bible, and you don't really need a special degree for a number of them. In fact, while I admire so many pastors that seem to have a much more academic approach to the Bible, I find that God actually speaks some pretty rich things to ordinary people like you and me. That said, there is a book that I'd like to show you here, somewhere in there. It's called Living by the Book. Now, this one is a really simple book on some of the how-to skills of Bible study. And I would recommend this one. It's a bit older. In fact, I remember reading it back in college right after we discovered fire, but it's still pretty effective and relevant. One thing it will do is it'll show you how to read the Bible more meaningfully. And one of your best tools alongside with this book is going to be like a multicolored pen, and you're going to take your Bible and it will show you how to actually like mark up your Bible. I know it seems really it was tough for me to make my first marks in the Bible and stuff, but as I marked it up, I found more things coming to life and it became more memorable and more meaningful to me. Another thing you can do is you can read the Bible in a group together. Sometimes I imagine the early church probably doing something like this. They probably spent a lot of time passing around like the letters that were written to the early church. I think that they must have shared a lot of the Bible spoken and that sort of thing. And so one time I remember sitting down to try this with some buddies, and we actually just sat down in a local coffee shop and we're like, hey, let's just pop the Bible open and let's just pass it around and read it. And we'll stop and discuss it when something jumps out at us. And it was a really rich and meaningful time of Bible study. It's not super complicated or academic, but it sure was meaningful. You might give it a try. On a similar note, personally, I really like to listen to the Bible because I find that I often hear better than I read. Maybe you're a little bit like me, maybe not. Anyway, in fact, in a coming session, I'd like to lead you in a little practice called Lectio Divina, which is a fancy Latin word for just meaning divine reading. And it's where we just listen to a passage and let God speak to us through it. And look for that in the next couple of days. So I'm going to post something like that. If you feel like you've been stuck for a little while in either your personal devotional life or your family devotional life, you might want to just try a different method. Ask around. Maybe someone does something different that might spark something for you. Just a reminder in that, though, is this is your devotional life, and it doesn't need to look like someone else's. There aren't specific rules in studying the Bible. The important element is that you're just regularly putting yourself in a spot where God can speak to you through his written word. Next, I want to talk a little bit about resources. Now, the church has had like a couple thousand years to compile a ton of resources about the Bible. And so one of the natural things is to wonder, where does a person start? Well, you could ask a friend and ask what kind of resource they like. Here's a few that I use. I really love the YouVersion app on the YouVersion Bible app on my phone because it's got all kinds of different translations of the Bible. So if I want to read something in a bit of different words, I can study something that's maybe more literal, like the ESV, or something more readable, like the New Living Translation, or something completely different, like the Message, to just get a bit of different feel for different passages. And I can find that in the YouVersion. You know what else I find? And there's lots and lots of really great study apps or Bible reading plans. You can check those out, and maybe either as a family or as an individual, you might just follow one of those reading plans. That's what I do. I'm on a Bible reading plan right now that's put together by the Bible Project, and it comes with little videos and stuff like that, and I really like it. Another resource you might entertain is Right Now Media. Our church subscribes to Right Now Media, and you can have a free account with that if you don't already have it. Just contact us here at the office, and we'd be happy to hook you up. And there's thousands and thousands of Bible study videos right there. I sometimes grab one and jump on the treadmill and go for a run and listen to a Bible study. And I love that sort of thing. You might want to try it. You can even watch it with friends. There's books, tons and tons of books. There's lots here at the church library, in my personal library right behind me here. Just, again, ask a friend, what book kind of stood out to you? What worked for you? They're your friends, for goodness sakes. They probably have some similarities to you. So why not ask what other people are reading? Something else you might consider is the days of going away to Bible school are kind of gone because you can do so much of it online. Lots and lots of Bible schools offer really great study components right there online, and you might check one of them out. If you need some recommendations, feel free to give me a call. If you want to start out with a pretty basic tool, one of the things that I actually said that I look at on my YouVersion Bible app is something called the Bible Project. And you can just go to their website. And what the Bible Project is it's a collection of all these little short, I think they're all pretty consistently about 8 minutes long, little overview videos of different books of the Bible, which I find is so helpful when I'm going to sit down and study a book of the Bible to just get a little bit of context and background on it first. And I find the Bible Project does a really great job of that. The last thing that I want to talk about in terms of different helps is community. I think community is really important. And kind of my life motto has been, if you can't be smart, have smart friends. And so contrary to what you might think, or maybe just how we behave, we weren't designed to go solo on this mission. It's okay to ask questions and explore our friends' spiritual practices. And I'm so grateful to have friends that are really smart, that I can call with all my brain questions and ask, hey, where do you get some information about this? And I also have friends that are really connected, you know what I mean? Where I can go and ask like really practical questions. So community is also an important helps in that. So what have we covered over the last 3 sessions? Well, we've talked about in a personal or a family devotional life, important things are habit and just maintaining the consistency of regularly doing this. The next was heart. And we're talking about sometimes we get stuck in these motivational ruts and we need to pray our way through those and ask God to transform our hearts to really desire him. And then finally today we talked about helps and a few different areas where we can just put some tools in our tool belt for studying the Bible. So I want you just to take a moment to discuss these things. Which of these areas do you need to work on the most? I'm also wondering, which of these areas will you start with? And then finally, is there an idea that has come up that you'd like to try? And where could you get some more guidance should you need it? Again, thanks for joining us for Table Talk. We'll see you at the next one.